Hey guys. Hey John. Hey Emily. Let me know if you could hear me okay.
Hi, I'm doing
Hey Karya.
well. How about you? Happy
How you
Friday.
doing? Likewise. I'm doing pretty
Oh
well. I
no.
got a bad sunburn over the weekend. Just got back from a trip
Oh,
to Florida
fun.
with my sister. So had a nice weekend. How about yourself? Oh, I think I lost you there with the oh,
Okay. Oh
there
yeah, I
you
was
go.
putting my
I
AirPods
can
on.
hear you. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Looks like we get. Looks like we're gonna give it another minute or so just for
Yeah.
kind of people to join. Um, everyone, Vico Wanda, stay from Chile. I've never
I
actually done
have
one.
a
Have you ever done one?
long time ago. I don't know. I feel like there was a kind of a heyday of like Instagram lives and TikTok lives were really big for a while. But yeah, I haven't done one of these in a while.
Yeah.
So I've done more like I feel like Clubhouse has kind of like replaced that in some way, or at least it did for
Mm.
like a year or so. I think Clubhouse is kind of on the decline, um, but yeah, it's yeah, just casual, just chat. I don't know if you have any like questions that you came up with, or
Um,
okay.
actually, I just wanted to kind of keep this more casual, and so one of the goals of today, and
Mhm.
kind of what I wanted to start establishing for our community was just kind of like a free kind of speaking and talking session with a couple people from that join the community, and maybe we can kind of learn from each other, get inspiration from each other. Um, I thought a cool way, uh, a laid back way
Yeah,
of doing that would be something like this. Just over a cup of coffee, talk, nothing, no agenda kind of thing, no expectations or anything like that. Just kind of see where the
yeah,
conversation goes
totally. Sounds good.
and go from there. But yeah, so I know we had a couple people that did want to show up or at least join in the chat. I believe one of them, KT was his name. I think he wasn't available this week, so unfortunately he won't be around. But yeah, no, I think all right, cool. So what I could do, I'll just kick it off.
Mhm.
I'll do a brief introduction to myself. My name is Will Chelino. I am one of the co-founders of a company called Anthology. So Anthology actually started a couple of years ago, mostly as an app business. We came up with an idea for a photo focused app um, that combines things like social media and gamification with location scouting and um, portfolio kind of generation and sharing. So we've been working on that. There's been a little bit of a roller coaster along the way with in terms of like development and going with some developers and things like that. So coming across into this year, we seeing how things have been playing out online with in terms of things like AI and things like the social media changing landscape and things like that. We really started to focus more so
Mhm.
on the community aspect of our business and how we can help support other photographers, other creators, grow and learn, um, and just across a whole suite of things. And that's really what I started focusing more so these last couple months. So we started doing things like a monthly photo contest. We did started building up. My wife and I actually started building like this monthly magazine that
Mhm.
is distributed online. So everything is definitely more geared towards the individual photographer, and kind of saving or preserving rather that that photography medium in this.
Yeah, fabulous. Yeah, so you reached out to me a few weeks ago, and we got introed that way. And yeah, I think that's a really great, yeah, endeavor to kind of get into for the photography community. Kind of like brings me back to a lot of my roots in like when I started doing photography. I started doing like high school, and then I did like it was my major in college, and it kind of brings back kind of the community aspects that you get in academia, but like kind of loosely, where you can kind of, yeah, just like converse and share stuff, and kind of like almost feels almost like pre-social media because it's so just like it's like a magazine, and I don't know, it has like a different feel for me. So
Yeah,
wonderful.
actually, so I came across your work actually a couple weeks ago when I reached out. We started planning the magazine that's upcoming for a street photography focused edition, which is actually not going to be this month's issue, but the following month's issue. So I think you were actually gracious enough to be, I think, one of the first guest judges for our upcoming contest, which is actually going to launch tomorrow.
Okay.
So yeah, so that new contest will run from the first. I got to check the date. I think it's should have done this before, but so it'll run
for
from
like
the
2
first.
weeks.
Yeah, I usually do it for about 2.5 weeks. So I think right around the 15th or so will probably be the end date of that one. And then, yeah, so it'll be a kind of new endeavor into that world. I think we have our internal team here that has been doing the judging for the previous 3 contests, and now we're kind of opening the doors and wanted to expand a little bit and bring in some kind of, I would say, kind of like industry experts and specific niche experts in the target fields. And I think your work was really inspiring. So I wanted to definitely reach out to someone like you and get your opinions, get your thoughts, and yeah, I think the work just speaks for itself.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm excited to see what people are submitting. I mean, street photography is such a broad idea, or yeah, niche genre of photography, and anywhere from fashion focused was what I do to more architecture focused, just decisive moments, just random people, interactions between people. So I'm looking forward to see what people are working on out there on the street.
Yeah, definitely. I think just for my own curiosity's sake, I think just because I always like to learn new things, and I never actually thought about street photography before seeing some of your work and from more of the fashion aspect of it, which was rather fascinating. How did you kind of stumble upon that? How did you come across that area?
Yeah, so I started in the general fashion photography realm because I was working in retail like right out of college, and I kind of didn't know what to do with my photography because previously my photography was very fine art based, and I did like theater and dance photography because I was involved with that myself in college, so that was just kind of like an easy thing for me to do. But then once I graduated, it was kind of like, all right, now I didn't have like any of that opportunity or outlet, and I was like in a new city. I was just basically starting over, and I was working in retail, and I was meeting bloggers who like fashion bloggers. This was like 2016, kind of like the heyday of original fashion bloggers, where you could start an Instagram and get a really great audience. So I was meeting a lot of fashion people who were looking for content and heard that I was a photographer, and I was like, all right, well, I really haven't done much fashion work, but okay, I'm sure I can do it. So I started doing that, and I found that I really enjoyed it, and I was doing more and more. They were telling their friends, they were hiring me. It was just kind of snowballing from there. And then the concept of New York Fashion Week was introduced to me through some blogger friends who were also interested in going. So I accompanied a friend to New York Fashion Week, and I was like, all right, let's see what this is about. I mean, you can kind of do a million different things around New York Fashion Week. You can do runway, you can do street style, you can just do one-on-one sessions, you can do backstage. So I just was like, okay, I'm just going to try a bunch of different things. So I just showed up to a show that my friend was invited to, accompanied her, escorted her inside, said, bye-bye, I'm just going to stand around here and see what happens. And I just started taking photos of people who were coming in and out of the show. And I was like hooked. I was like, okay, this is really cool because you can work with a bunch of different people, meet a bunch of different people. I have always loved like movement-based photography. I did a lot of dance photography in my past. So I was like, okay, this is like people moving and you're catching people and it's kind of fast paced and yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, that's kind of how I got introduced to it, and then just continued to pursue it. I was based in Seattle before this, and then was coming to New York about once a quarter or so for fashion weeks, and then also just for general shooting and networking. And and then ended up moving to New York. And at this time, I was just doing street style fashion photography around fashion week. So it was just like, okay, there was 2 weeks out of the year that I would do this, and then I would kind of do other photography related things, fashion photography related things, the rest of the year. And then it wasn't until like COVID lockdown, and I was seeing some other people, kind of in my circle, doing more just everyday street style in New York. Like there's an account called Watching New York, and he's really big in the area. He's really well known. And I was like seeing his work, and I was like, I could do that. I do this, but I just don't do it every day. And just, every day on the street. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. So then I just started going out in Soho and Williamsburg and, just kind of like trendy people watching spots with my camera, and started taking more of the just everyday fashion photos. And it's very different. It's very different than New York Fashion Week or any other fashion week. I've done London and I've done Paris too. And, those ones, people are expecting, they're wanting their photo, it's like this expectation, versus every day it's a little more like observational, people watching. Sometimes I like to do candids and sometimes I like to do more pose, just depends on, my mood, who I see. So yeah, that's how I got to doing what I do today. So yeah, that's my journey.
Well, one of the things that I think always fascinates me about like portraitures and street photography too, and specifically when you're looking at subjects and stuff. Have you ever been like approached by people like outside of that, maybe they don't know you're taking that picture or on the street or anything like that? Have you ever gotten that kind of pushback?
Oh yeah, yeah. I have had instances where I ask somebody if I can take their photo and they say no. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure, have a great day. Moving on. I've had instances where somebody catches me taking their photo, and they, catch me and they're like, oh, please, like, I don't want my photo taken. I'm like, oh yeah, that's totally fine. And I'll like delete the photo right there and then. And then I've only had one time where somebody found their photo that I had posted on my Instagram in a reel, and they asked me to take it down. So, I mean, for the most part, I don't know, especially in neighborhoods like Soho and Williamsburg, people are expecting it. They're dressing up to go shopping. They're dressing up to see and to be seen. And yeah, so for the most part, people are pretty okay with it. And I got really good, feedback in general from people who really enjoy it. And it's really weird when people start recognizing me on the street too, especially when I'm in Soho. And they're like, oh, I follow you. I love your work. So it's kind of,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, it's cool to kind of get that like validation from people. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you have a kind of unique style, so I think
Thank you.
definitely has, and I've seen your accounts blown up, so it definitely does make sense that you become more recognizable as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's awesome.
Thanks.
How
Yeah.
long have you been kind of going at this now?
Um, a little less than 2 years that I've been doing the like everyday in New York. I've been doing street style in general for about 5 years now. And then,
Okay.
yeah, I want to say it was like summer 2021 that I started doing the everyday stuff. And it wasn't until like I have two separate like Instagram accounts. So first I had one that was just my general photography that I used to do, more of there's kind of like bloggers and influencers and branding and just general portraits. I had a separate Instagram account, and then I had this, Karya Street Style account, and it was just active for 2 weeks out of the year for fashion weeks. And then I started doing just the everyday stuff last summer and started posting more to this account. And then with the advent of Reels, I started creating Reels, and that's what really like got me a lot of traction with my work and got me all the followers that you see here today, which I am so grateful for. And so that kind of like changed what I was doing. Yeah, for a while I was doing a bunch of different kinds of photography, and street style was just a little side thing. And now it has just completely switched to street style is the main thing that I do, and then I'll do other photography things kind of on the side when it happens.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard along the way of from talking with a couple different artists too, and I've noticed even in myself, I'm more of like I would call myself like a hobbies or amateur professional type of style, but I don't have a specific niche. I just like taking photos in general, and
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really narrowed down that type of funnel yet for myself. So I think that's
Yeah.
that kind of on my own journey. Obviously, I'm doing other stuff now with some other things, but I think that probably holds myself back a little bit in terms of like actually funneling into something specific and growing in that aspect. But no, but that's really cool to hear about and to hear about your story. I think it shows that we got a lot of people kind of joining in and saying hi and stuff. So that's great to hear. If you're listening on this, if you want to ask a question,
Mm-hmm.
um, feel free to drop in the chat. I'll try to answer, or Karya will try to answer these. So one of them was, have you seen the cover of Vogue PH April cover?
Vogue Philippines.
Maybe that's what yeah, maybe
Yeah,
that's what they're
yeah, I think
referring to.
April 2020. I thought that was like the first thing to come up. Um, is it the Next of Skin, the beauty issue one? Is that 20? Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, I haven't. I mean, I'm honestly like not that on the radar of like editorial and magazine and that kind of stuff. But very cool. Apo Wing. Oh, I don't know if it's in the right. Um, very cool. Have you seen it
Cool.
before?
No, I don't haven't really looked into that.
Yeah.
Prior. So I've actually been because of the magazine and stuff. I've been trying to look for inspiration in terms of like design and elements and trying to come up with creative topics and stuff. So that's actually an interesting one that I will write down here
Yeah.
for my own knowledge. But yeah, so I think no, that's great. I think in terms of like as a street photographer, something that in the context of like what we're building here, um, do you have, or would you say you have kind of like joined an online community, an online photography community, or do you have one that you associate with already?
Yeah.
And kind of like, how has that experience been for you and how has it helped you grow kind of thing?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, before maybe like February 2022, so last New York Fashion Week season, I was really doing a lot of the street style, just very solitarily, solitary. I don't know what that word is. And I kind of like meet people here and there, make connections, but I was just really like doing it just on my own. And then there was kind of like a switch last February, where I don't know, I was just like meeting a lot more people. And I was meeting a lot more women. I mean, I think that is also a tricky thing in the street style realm and fashion photography in general, is that for a while there weren't a lot of women, and now there are more and more women in the space and women identifying. And now like the next step is like, okay, actually hire these wonderful artists. But yeah, I feel like that season there was kind of like a sense of like solidarity, and everybody was kind of networking and getting to know each other more. And I think it was kind of like one of the first like full New York Fashion Week seasons that was like fully back. Not everything was digital, everything was in person again. Everything and everybody was kind of back. So yeah, since then I've had a really great in-person and online community. Some people are based in New York and some people are based all over the world, and we'll see each other during fashion weeks. But yeah, it's really great to have community like that. Yeah, I was doing this really siloed for a really long time, and I didn't need to have been doing that. And I don't know why I thought I needed to be doing that, but
I think I think it's also that I'm sure, and I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure also COVID was very daunting for a lot of photographers, and
yeah.
it definitely created this suffocating atmosphere where you're really alone.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
but yeah, it's rather unfortunate. But yeah, I agree with you there. Um, okay, cool. So we got a couple questions in here. Let me
Okay, great.
tap on this one. So for Kayla, what do you love about street style photography?
Hi, Kayla. I know Kayla. I love kind of the variety of it, and you never really know what's gonna happen or who you're gonna see, what you're gonna shoot. It's just really exciting, and it's kind of like it's almost like an addictive like adrenaline rush where you're like, okay, what am I gonna see today? And it's like almost hard to like stop. So you're like, okay, well there might be like something else around the corner. There might be, who knows what's gonna happen next. So yeah, it's unpredictable. It doesn't really get old for me. I mean, every once in a while, I'm like, okay, I should like take a break. Like, I need like a week to like breathe. I've been working a lot. Like, I don't need to like just not going to pick up my camera for a week and like re-energize and then get back into it. But yeah, for the most part, um, yeah, I really love meeting new people through it. I love the ability to travel with it. Going to different international fashion weeks, and then if I'm on fashion week circuit, and then just going to like random cities and doing just everyday street style too, and kind of getting a feel of what that city is like, what the people are like, what the fashion is like. Like I really want to do more of that too, like kind of looking ahead to the rest of the year, like 2023, and then ahead to 2024. I want to do more just like traveling around the country and seeing what street style is like in different cities.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's an awesome goal to strive for. And for my answer for that one, I think for me, street photography is kind of the epitome, I would say, of like the old adage of like photography is capturing a moment and telling it. Like you can really tell a story through street photography. That it
Yeah.
comes through the most, I would say, in that niche, more so than maybe some others. But it's there's a certain beauty to that realism and that storytelling that can be captured, whether it's architectural, whether it's weather related, whether it's person or fashion related. It's there's so many different avenues that you can go through, and that's what really piques my interest about it. But I think Kayla actually asked a couple questions here. So let me. That's the second one that I have here. What made you start Anthology? So this one's really more so for me. So,
yeah.
and the start of Anthology, like I said, I don't know if Kayla, I don't know if you were here in the beginning, but it started with the vision for a photography focused app. And that really came from myself being a hobbyist. The initial idea was I would see kind of images posted mostly on Instagram and places online, forums and blog posts that really cool landscapes and locations, urban settings, abandoned buildings. I used to love doing like automotive photography and taking pictures like that. So it was always difficult. I would say one of the most challenging aspects from a hobbyist perspective was always like trying to find those locations myself. Or how do you go about doing, how do you find or come across locations like that? So the initial kind of concept for Anthology was mostly like a forum for photographers or hobbyist photographers to kind of share locations with each other, and kind of inspire them to go out and venture into the world. And we kind of built upon that along the way. My co-founder and I, we started looking at the problems with Instagram. That was when they started really changing their algorithms a lot and started impacting the growth and the visibility for photography on the platform. So it evolved from just kind of this location-based forum to more so an all-inclusive app for a bunch of different photography features. Like I said, portfolios, like a social media type of environment, and plus location stuff. And then we have we incorporated some, like, I call them gamified features, but just a way to inspire people to keep creating, to train themselves to take better pictures, with the benefit of having a reward in it as well, which makes it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a lot of platforms are going that way, and if that really draws people in. Yeah, gamification of it all. It works.
It's almost like a tightrope. You gotta. It's a fine line where it gets too much. But I think we're kind of positioning ourselves to a certain point where I don't think it'll go too far. The way we've designed the features and the way that we've included them kind of specifically throughout the app environment actually helps us to not require, like on our social feed, we won't need to serve ads or suggested content like they do on Instagram or on TikTok or anything like that, because we've built them into the gamified aspects of it. So it just makes it a little bit more user friendly and keeps the remainder of the platform focused on the photos, which I think is the most important.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I love that. Keep the focus on what matters.
And the last question she sent through: how has having a community impacted your photography? Interesting. I could start that one off. I think it's interesting because we're in the process now of building this community, but I've had the pleasure of being part of a couple of different online groups, and I think just the way that you get to network and meet with people and get to be inspired to create yourself. For me, at least, that has been the most beneficial. And I love talking to new people. I love getting to hear where people come from and their stories of how they started or how they're creating something. Or if I see an amazing image, I want to know kind of like what was your process or thought process of going through that. That's just the engineer brain in me, I guess. But yeah, I think that to me, the community aspect, the educational aspect to it, that's really what impacts me the most.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I have really loved having a community where we can bounce ideas off each other, ask, like, how did you do that, and share knowledge. Yeah, especially since it's really cool meeting people who come from different backgrounds, personally and culturally, but also like within photography. Maybe they came from doing more fine art, or they came from doing very commercial, and then you just learn different things. Maybe a trick that they picked up in this one kind of photography that they bring to street style that you would have never thought about. So that, I agree. That's really cool. and just generally having support, and people who get it, who are, in the same boat as you. So if you have, a question about something, or like you're like feel like you're not sure about something and you just need like validation about, pricing, or how you're formatting things, how you're reaching out to clients, how you're working with clients, being able to, yeah, I actually ask somebody who understands, to the T, like what it is. Because, you can ask your therapist, you can ask your friends, you can ask your partner, but they don't 100% get, the exact situation. So just having other people, yeah, just that, yeah, the validation and community, I think, is really, really great and important.
Yeah, what's also really what's also really nice about kind of the photography culture online, um, at least from my experience, what I've been seeing is it's not really competitive. We're all very supportive of each other. I don't necessarily see much. You go into like obviously the business world and other areas where everything is very cutthroat, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants to kind of, if they see something, they're either going to take it or they're going to steal it, um, and use it to their benefit. And it's always a race to the top or bottom, depending on how you look at things.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's not that way in this. It's a very supportive community, and
yeah,
I think that's something interesting because, like you said, it's there's not many places where you could go ask someone that is essentially creating the same thing as you at the end of the day, like a photo for instance, and they'd be as willing to provide you with an answer of like, oh yeah, this is how you should price your, go about your pricing structure or anything like that. It's not very common in other areas, and I think that's something that's really cool,
yeah,
specifically about photography.
yeah. I mean, I've faced a lot of competition. I've had competitive spirit in me, met other people, but I've realized, especially the last 2 years or so, um, especially like I'm in New York City, and it's like everybody's here. There's every type of photography, and it really is advantageous to niche down, um, because you can't compete. Even if you do want to compete with everybody, you can't, because there's just so much. There's so much work to go around. Um, so if you kind of niche yourself down and become known, for a very specific thing, and like you yourself as a brand, then I just find it's a lot easier. It's a lot, just a lot off of your mental health. And yeah, you just don't feel like you have to be competing with everybody for every single job that's out there. If you are kind of just like confident in what you do, and you know what kind of client you're trying to attract, and you just go for it.
Yeah, wonderfully said, and I think, yeah, I think that's awesome. Um, awesome. Thanks so much for the questions, Kayla. I think that was
Yeah, thank you,
fantastic.
Kayla.
Uh, yeah, so if anybody else, if you're just joining, if you have questions, feel free to drop them below. We'll answer them to the best we can. But yeah, I think so a little bit maybe how you work it is. Are you working on your own kind of thing, or are you working in as part of like an agency, or how does that look for you?
Yeah, I'm completely on my own. I own my own business. I'm an LLC, and I've never had a manager. I've never had, an agency. I've kind of like worked tangentially through agencies. If it's a PR agency and they have a client who's looking for a specific thing, but no, I've never been personally represented. I have been thinking about it recently, just because what I'm doing there's a lot of work there. Yeah, there's,
Mm,
a lot of work coming my way, and it's kind of like, okay, I do feel like I might need a certain amount of like help and assistance, or in either like kind of sorting through what comes my way, or advocating for myself for new opportunities. But for the most part, yeah, I've just been able to do everything on my own, just through social media exposure, word of mouth, connection, networking. But yeah, I know, but there definitely is like a big advantage for having a manager or an agency that I've seen other photographers really benefit from. So just kind of depends on where you are. I think it also kind of depends on like how business savvy you are. I mean, a lot of creatives, maybe they haven't really dove into the actual business side of like how to read a contract and all those things, and then they might find themselves like all of a sudden working in a capacity where they do need to read contracts and they don't know how to, which is totally fine. I mean, I guess I'm fortunate that I have a master's in arts business, so I like very specifically like took classes on finance and reading contracts and networking and stuff like that. So I kind of feel like I've always like had that leg up in that sense, and so I haven't needed any like outside help in that capacity. But I think there is a lot of value to having that kind of support if you need it.
Yeah, that's great. I think so. In terms of like, I would assume for the fashion type of fashion weeks and stuff like that, you would be able to work on like commission rates. I would assume, right? Or commission packages.
Define commission packages, I guess.
Or I guess like for New York, let's say New York Fashion Week specifically. I don't know the company or the agency that runs that specifically, but do you network with like them specifically as a professional photographer on site, or is it more so you're at the individual models that are going through there? I guess in terms of like the business model, like how do you actually kind of, I guess how do you get paid?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it is kind of, a lot of people ask me like, okay, so exactly how do you make money? I don't work directly with New York Fashion Week, the shows, which is the large organization. There are photographers who do, either they're doing runway photography or they're doing street style specifically for them backstage. What I do is I usually work with a bunch of different people, whether it is a company or brand, individuals. So I'll do, individuals photos. So more of like a one-on-one, we meet before a show and we do a series of photos for them. I will also sell the images that I take. So if I take a photo of somebody at a show and, they find me later, they can purchase that image so they can use it for their socials, show their outfit. Everybody kind of wants the street style aesthetic for especially New York Fashion Week. And then I'll also work with brands who are looking for either like editorial or social content around, a trend or a concept or an idea. So I will be creating content for them around street style. And then also more recently, as I've like been developing a following, I do like sponsorships and more like influencer work. And yeah, and then also I have sometimes done like event photography, or a brand will be having a presentation, so it's not like a runway show, but it's more like a party, and they have their new collection. It's more of like a casual thing, and they might bring me in to take photos of the people who are there. So they kind of like do like a mini campaign shoot, editorial kind of deal. So kind of, it really depends. It's a bunch of different things. Some people, they just do runway and like that's their bread and butter. That's all they do, or they just do backstage, or they like work specifically for Vogue or Glamour or Elle or something and do all of their street style content. But for me, I kind of like being able to do a bunch of different things and like not being totally tied down to one like client that I have to like be doing the entire week. I like to do a bunch of different things. So,
yeah, that makes
that's
sense.
how it works for me.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I think especially with the rise of like the influencer market and such, and I could see that being a very big proponent, not only just for kind of visibility and getting your work out there, but also that monetary incentive as well, which is definitely something that I think a lot of people could strive for. But yeah, that's awesome. I think so we're at like 11:45 and been talking for a while.
Yeah, no, I think
goes
a lot of stuff.
Goes pretty quick when you're
Yeah.
having a good conversation. If there's any other questions on maybe on your end, or I think from my
No,
side, pretty wrapped up. Any give kind of one last option for the audience here to ask any
the
questions.
chat.
Just taking a look.
Yeah, I can't see the questions from my
We're,
end.
I think we're all good. Awesome.
Cool.
Well,
Awesome. All right.
Karya,
Thanks so much for having me on. This is really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, hopefully we'll continue kind of doing these, coffee side conversations, if you will. And yeah, I'll keep growing the community and learn from you. And I look forward to kind of work with you on the contest coming up.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's for people that are just joining. The contest starts tomorrow, and you can. And there'll be a link on post on our website and on our Instagram account that you can tap on and just submit right on the website. It's just a simple form. And Karya is going to be one of our first guest judges for this contest coming up. So it's going to be very interesting and very fun. And I think it's going to be a really exciting time for the people that submit. So
yeah,
looking forward to it.
Okay.
And yeah, have a good rest of your day and enjoy
Thanks.
the rest of your weekend.
You too.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.